Please stand for pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. Alrighty. For the agenda, is there any addition or deletions?
No additions, no deletions.
Ready? No public?
No.
Superintendent's report.
So last week we had a National Blue Ribbon celebration at Lowell High School. We loaded up the entire student body and staff from Lake Prairie Elementary. They had police escort all the way through town, made a bunch of racket with horns and honking, and there were parents along the parade route, and they ended up at high school. Mr. Childress was able to join us, and do you have any comments based on what you observed?
I tell you, them kids were excited, man. I tell you, they were going nuts in that auditorium, man.
There was an introductory video,
Yeah.
and those kids, without prompting, clapped almost all the way through. And I almost brought a tear too.
I did. I teared up.
And then we had Family Feud. That was awesome, man. That was a good job, Kevin, I'm telling you.
But
I had some arguments on some of the maps or so. The
I will tell you, I was pleased. Dan put together a letter asking businesses if they would post on their marquee all throughout town. And there were several businesses from Route 41 through that I was glad to see they helped us out, and people were excited about seeing that. And I got to meet several business owners on a Friday afternoon. It was good. And we had representatives from Senator Braun's office, Senator Young's office, and some township trustees. So it was a nice time. It was a big deal. It is a big deal, and so I was glad we got to celebrate that. Another item is very soon there will be a postcard going out to all communities in the Trustees School Corporation, celebrating some good news and highlights, and that's being put together by Colfax Communications that we've partnered with. And we are also working on a monthly digital newsletter that will go out to all families from the district level as well. Graduation day is Tuesday, June 7th, 6 p.m. Lowell High School Stadium. Rain date is the 9th, Thursday. And I'm sure you've all heard of the mass school shooting in Texas. Don't need to say how unfortunate that is. I have started to receive several emails from parents in our community saying, hey, look, what are we doing? And I spoke to safety coordinator Stacy Eames this afternoon and said, I think we might want to put together a town hall opportunity next week. So if there are community members that have concerns and they just want to process through Tri-Creek's plan and what we're doing, we can provide that to parents and have some dialogue. And then along that same line, we will be hosting a what to do before law enforcement arrives in a tragic situation of that. It's about how to train your school staff. We're adopting the 3 outs approach: lock out, get out, take out. Very simple, easy to recall, division. Every person in our district can recite that, know what to do. And Texas is a prime example of that. You can never have an armed guard every place at all the times. It's what you do when danger arrives and how you respond that's so critical. That's what our week-long training will be. We will be a host site. We'll be inviting other area schools, and that will be the first week of August. Yeah,
some pre-warnings too. I mean, they had some down there that they just flew off, and we should train that too.
For sure. So along that lines, it's school threat assessment teams, and it's when something happens that creates a red flag, whether it be a social media posting, or if a teacher happens to see something in class, kids making a drawing of a weapon, or has a dark statement in an essay, we're not only inquiring about that, but we're connecting the dots of every person that works with that student. We're identifying, has there been trauma in the kid's life, such as divorce, death in the family, loss of a pet? Have they changed schools? If they came to our school from a different one, that we're reaching out to the previous school, hey, were there concerns? Does the kid get counseling outside of the school day? If so, can we have a release of information? What's it for? Has there been diagnosis? Is there medication? It's really connecting all the dots, and as in every mass shooting that they've studied, these things can be prevented if you just connect the dots in advance. So you are spot on, Mr. Childers. And that's all I have for my report.
Thank you. Board members report, anything?
I'm good.
Approve the minutes of the meeting held on May 12th, 2022.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Personnel, approved personnel report dated Thursday, May 26th, 2022.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 2, discuss the possibility of a health aide position.
Yeah, so I can tag team this with Ms. Fogarty. During COVID, the corporation utilized ESSER funds to hire a 6th district nurse. The purpose of that was to fill other nurses who may have had to quarantine. Also, there was a high workload in contact tracing, and that 6th nurse proved to be very beneficial. Now that we appear to have pushed through that phase, we recently had a high school resignation, and so our 6 nurses will be going down to 5. We wanted to discuss with you the possibility of not necessarily replacing with a certified nurse, but a health aide for knowing that the ESSER funds will run out, and if we're looking possibly long-term, that this might be a more fiscally responsible route to take. In regards to job description, helping out with the clerical, the immunization records, substituting, which oftentimes it's difficult to find a substitute nurse. And so we feel that we can have the support, but we don't necessarily need the full-on certified nurse as we recently did.
If this person is subbing for a nurse, are her ability to do things limited?
They, to a degree, how I would respond to that is we could maneuver if we know, let's say for example, secondary level has a higher need of injuries, or a nurse that if one of those people were out, you could pivot another nurse there and the health aide to go sub at another building. That's a possibility. The other nice thing is in the district, you have the ability to call another nurse, and we've got 4 other nurses. That's a big benefit as well. Whereas some school districts, we only have 1 nurse and the rest of them are health aides.
It's a full-time position.
It would be a full-time position. There's no action needed, but we just wanted to have some discussion. This is new. We uploaded the job description of what that would look like. If it's something that you would entertain, then we would circle back around the next board meeting with a recommendation.
pre-pandemic, our needs in that department were mainly to help with paperwork. And our current school nurses have a lot on their plates for charting and a lot on their plates for just the volume that comes in and just doing the daily paperwork. The other thing that they get bogged down with are hearing tests, vision tests, those types of things that don't necessarily need to be done by an RN, but could be done by an aide or someone who's more clerical in nature but has medical knowledge. So pre-pandemic, we were looking at this health aide to be a clerk to go around and rotate to all 5 buildings just so we could keep our paperwork up. Throughout this past school year, we used that 6th nurse to step in as a substitute a little over 70 times out of 185 school days. But I will say that COVID played a lot in that, in the way of closing down child care centers that our nurses had their kids in. It wasn't necessarily illness with the nurse themselves, but it might have been a family member or situations of that nature. But we saw a tail off of that towards the end of the school year. It's heavy at the beginning of the school year, so we're seeing and tracking those substitutes, even though they're needed still, but not as necessary from the beginning. So the 6th RN is not as needed as we had in the beginning of the year. So it's a good trend to see, but it makes financial sense to move this out of a grant-funded position into the building and then get the clerical support that they need.
So I'd like to know also, you do this, what duties this person can't do that a nurse can do?
An RN, okay, so in the state of Indiana, you're only required to have 1 BSN, a bachelor's RN, in district. That bachelor's of RN, you can have health aides under them, which really don't have much medical training at all, if any. It can be that the nurse then, the RN actually delegates their medical authority by training that person, that health aide, and they operate under that nurse's license. So that's how other districts are doing this, because you're only required to have 1 BSN. We have 4 in district here and 1 ASN. So they're all RNs, so we're very fortunate in that matter. They can do everything that a nurse can do, as long as they're trained and properly trained over and over again. So there's touch points that you have to do. So if they're doing diabetic care or something like that, they have to be trained and regularly trained by that RN that's delegating their license to them.
Business operations. Which one? With the health aid?
Yeah, we're good. Sounds like, go ahead and pursue that direction.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Business operations, approve the interlocal agreement with the town of Lowell for the sanitary sewer main extension to Lake Prairie Elementary School.
Yeah, so our attorney reviewed this and had some back and forth, and so this commits us officially to that project. The recapture fees would be on a prorated basis based on the amount we put in against what the total project cost, and that's how it's just prorated.
Yeah, I read an article in the paper, they said the town was getting $3 million from the state or some fund, so they're gonna come up with a dime. They're getting $1 million from us.
Works for our town, right?
Yeah.
That's good.
So the recommendation would be to approve this, and then we go to the town board then.
Is there any dates or any time constraints of the contract?
At the end of the construction project, within 90 days of substantial completion, it would then delineate the specificity of the prorate.
It doesn't say when the project will be finished.
Yes, it does. It's by fall of 2024, but let me confirm that. I actually think it might be before that.
No, that sounds realistic to me. With the railroads and everything, they have to deal with in the acquisition the
sanitary
property.
or everything else.
It's the permits probably kill them.
Well, they guys still gotta send out all the forms to the property owners, I haven't seen that yet. People will be complaining if they did.
I'm looking at, I lost my board docs.
It was, yeah, it was fun.
Just want to get you an answer.
I thought they were supposed to start on it this fall.
They've already started
Oh, they've already started?
with surveying and
Oh,
making arrangements, the engineering.
Begin design in March of 2022, final design and begin land acquisition in September of 2022. Finalize land and permit acquisition and begin construction in April of 23. Finalize sanitary sewer installation July 2024.
that's not too bad.
2 years, that's usually what.
Sure.
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Do you think we can, IDEM will accept this now for,
Yes, Jason's
Considerations?
been working with them on this, and yes,
You
it's
know,
sounding like
so we-
we'll be able to turn this over. This is a piece of documentation that we definitely need. We gave them a preview of this, and it's been
so
very.
they will, you think this will help allow us to build this classrooms next year without any trouble?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't have it in writing, but I think so.
Right. And I don't know why they would.
It's always a moving target with them for the last 3 years.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. President, just noticed we have an addendum to the personnel report. On the hiring, we should have on there a name Marjorie Brewer. She was interviewed and offered the position for a math position at the high school. And we'd like to request adding her name to that personnel report.
Make a motion to have her name.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
What was your name?
That's good. Are we going good on hiring teachers this year?
Well, kind of.
Okay.
The candidate pool is not very deep.
I'm sure. Is there a particular subject matter, high school teacher that we're really looking for?
There have been 0 applicants for chemistry. Got a few applicants for Spanish.
English, we gotta do applicants. We're gonna have some elementary positions that are open.
Really? Boy, that's fair. We're gonna be able to think about.
It's early yet.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, well, we'll start seeing people when people start
There'll be
seeing
a
them.
big domino shift.
Yes.
Right.
Alrighty, buildings ground. Approve the proposal from Blades Audio Visual Security of Noblesville, Indiana to provide renovations to Lowell High School gym sound and presentation system.
This one's mine.
There you are.
I was asked by Angela Patrick and Patty McCormick to take a look at some longstanding issues that they've had in the gym sound system, especially during large presentations and with the possibility of us having to have graduation in there if we did have weather. We've had a couple of people out over the years to take a look at that system, and the recommendation has always been that the system's fine, they just need to make some adjustments to the sound levels. That obviously has not fixed the problem, so I did go out and take a look and asked around the state for some recommendations on some other vendors out there who specifically have experience in gymnasiums, and obviously the pit is a very unique structure given that it's down in the ground. The name that was recommended to us was Blades Audio Visual. Did have them come out. They actually sent out a sound engineer who took a look, who was able to come in and take a look at everything, and he was able to pinpoint the problem right away. So it turns out all of the speakers are blown. These are speakers that are original to the 2005 renovation. We do have some of the equipment that was replaced a couple of years ago that's in great shape. They were very happy with that, so that did save some of the cost. But the recommendation that they gave us was one that was very favorable and actually came in under budget. Along with that, we did have them take a look at the potential for a project for replacing a drop-down screen that was installed originally. Has not been used since I've been here. It has just not worked. So
Is it a gymnasium?
this is in the gym, yeah. I've never
Where's
seen
that
it actually
located?
done. It is on the, let's see, that would be the side with the,
Opposite side of the flag that comes down.
Yeah.
So it's like a retractable screen, almost like the retractable flag.
right. So,
You noticed it before?
right.
It's
and
always up.
Yeah, it's always up. We've never seen used, but they would like to start using that for more large group presentations or pep rallies, things like that. So we had them take a look at that as well. Both projects came in very favorably under budget for what we had estimated. So the presentation you have in front of you is to go forward with both of those projects.
This is funded out of the 21 bonds like we had planned. And the portion of the screen, just a smaller portion, which pushed it over the budget that I had saved, is coming out of CPF for the building. So about $12,000 out of CPF, and the rest is coming out of the bonds like we had.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of saying aye? All opposed, same side. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Approve the revised school calendar for the 2022-2023 school year.
Yeah, so at the last board meeting, we indicated that legislation recently passed limits the number of days of asynchronous learning, which means where you can just post the assignments and you basically complete at your own pace independent learning. You're limited to 3 per year. We had discussion about makeup days and embedding those days based on parent survey within the calendar. We came up with Martin Luther King Jr. days, a flex day that's needed to make up, it would be used, President's Day, and the Monday after Easter. We also looked at using one of the e-learning days as a flex day as makeup, and keeping the other 2 for professional development. At that time, when we last met, the e-learning days were September, November, and January. After some additional discussion, we ended up moving the November e-learning day to March 1st with a higher probability of using that for makeup day if needed. But we wanted to keep January where it was because having a professional development in September and then a half a day in October, it would better fit in January versus November. And so that's what this calendar reflects. It doesn't impede with our testing season when the window starts up in March. And so that's the recommendation before you.
When does school start?
School starts for staff on August 15th, and the first day for students is Thursday, August 18th.
We have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll say.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right. Number 1, accept a donation from Lake Prairie Elementary School PTO in the amount of $100 for Title I Family Night. Number 2, accept a donation from Lake Prairie Elementary School PTO in the amount of $132.30 to help fund the grade 3 study trip. Number 3, accept a donation from Lake Prairie Elementary School PTO in the amount of $640.60 to help fund the grade 4 study trip.
So moved.
I have a motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor, by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
If I could offer something real quick to those, if you don't mind. The donations that went for, they call the Title I Family Night and the English Language Learner Family Night, just to give you guys some context, I think you know about the study trips. We had 240 family members who joined us at the middle school cafeteria for the Title I Family Night. And the 3 title teachers, along with building administrators and myself, kind of kicked it off, talked about what the Title I program has to offer. Everybody got a couple slices of pizza as a result of the PTO donation. That was a great way to kind of lure them in. But the most exciting part is that there is a wonderful workbook that we've had success with over the years that we've provided to every student with some of our title funds, so that they can go home. We talk to the parents about how to use the workbook, how to encourage them to just do small, digestible bursts of it throughout the course of the summer to kind of negate that summer slide and hopefully keep them learning and building upon some of the programs that we have in place. So it was great to have over 200 people here that night for the Title I family meeting. And in addition, it was yesterday. So yesterday was our English Language Learner Family Night, which we hosted in Ranchito. And we had just over 50 people that attended that one. Much smaller population, obviously, here at Trek Creek. But it was families with some of the babies of the family, plus some that were graduates, going to be seniors next year going out. So again, same type of thing. We go over their WEDA results with them at that time because they come in, which is their annual state test that they take in February. Got to go over those, and we also create custom family-oriented language acquisition activity gift bags, so to speak, that they take home with them in the summer to encourage them to continue working on speaking skills, listening skills, writing, reading skills in a fun way with their family. So every one of them is customized to the student's learning level, picked out by the English Language Learner teachers, and then distributed at the family night. So that was last night. So when you see those donations on there, I thought some context would be helpful, that our grants can't fund any food or hors d'oeuvres or anything like that. So they're kind enough to give us donations so that we can provide them that in addition to the things that our grants can't fund. So just a little context around those. Really, really positive.
You had teachers there too at Title Night, and they helped plan it?
Mm-hmm.
How many in total?
So
how did that work?
the 3 total teachers were there, plus they brought all of their assistants as well. So they were kind of manning the booth and giving out the materials as they walked in and checking them in, while the 3 teachers were giving them presentations on what the program does, what identification is, services that are provided, and then kind of the step-by-step of open up your book. You've got Joe Delgado's graphic design class. We created a custom bookmark with a QR code and some helpful resources that we made. So that was to go in the workbook to keep their pacing. So just little things to get them hopefully active throughout the summer months.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
The ESL night has been successful for a number of years.
It has, and truly shifting it over to Ranchito has been wonderful because of a number of our families, their parents are employed there, and to be able to get them to go there, it's great, and it's a really nice family bonding experience when they're there. Very casual, but good information is shared. I was able to give them also Parks Department information on summer programs, the Lowell Public Library summer reading program. We translate those materials for them so that they've got them to kind of encourage more acclimation to the different programs outside of the school that happen in the summer months. So yeah. And they were on pause for a couple of years with COVID, so this was the first time we had both back.
I was wondering about that. A few days ago, we were still going to do that.
We usually do the Title I in the fall first, but we weren't this year because we were still under some safety protocols and still trying to minimize contact tracing. But next year we'll be back to fall and spring for both of them. So yeah.
Alrighty. The next meeting for the Cherokee School Board will be Thursday, June 9th, 2022. Anything else from anybody? Adjourned.